Welcome to Purpose, Passion, and Prosperity. Are you ready for your breakthrough? Today I'm joined by Carletta Hurt. She's the bomb diggity. Yes, she is. She came in here with her hair all fly and everything. I tell you, she was ready for this. But let me read all her accolades so you can know exactly who we have here today. We have Carletta Hurt. She's a PhD, and that's not a player hater degree. She is an educator, a producer, and a youth advocate. With over 2 decades of experience in education, she has been a teacher, an assistant, a principal, a summer school director, a school counselor, just everything in the school, okay? Currently, Carletta is a high school counselor in Washington, D.C., and was named D.C. School Counselor of the Year in 2016 by the American School of Counselor. She graduated from Oglethorpe University with honors with a degree in middle grades education, and earned her master's in educational specialist degree school counseling from Georgia State University. Carletta earned her doctorate of philosophy degree in urban leadership and education with a concentration in urban education from the University of the District of Columbia. She is writing and researching about Black girl leadership and raising her amazing son, William. That's really cool, Carletta. I mean, you just really are brilliant.
Oh, wow.
I love it. I love it. So, Carletta,
Thank you, Tanya.
You absolutely are welcome. I'm just, I'm messing with you. We go way back, so I'm messing with her. But let me really, really ask you a question. This is really a really important question. Are you ready?
I think so.
Okay, good. What's your birthday?
Oh, it is November 30th, best day of the year. No, last day of the month, best day of the year. Because Gordon Parks and I share a birthday. He's a Renaissance man, so I'm a Renaissance woman.
Oh, okay. And
I love birthdays.
Me too. That's why I always ask everybody, right? And so that makes you a Sagittarius?
Oh, yes, most definitely.
Okay, a fire sign?
Yeah. No comment.
No comment? You don't feel like you're a fire sign?
Oh, I'm a fire sign.
I was just giving I wanted clarity on that question.
I'm deep in the fire sign.
You're deep in it? Okay, all right. Let me ask you this. Who's Carletta Hurt?
Ooh, I am the daughter of Jacqueline, granddaughter of Lottie, great granddaughter of Agnes. Come from a long line of amazing women. That's who I am. So I stand on their shoulders. I'm also a fighter, a lover of learning, a lover of people. But I think most importantly, I'm kind, and I want to support and give as much as I can to help others. Yeah,
really nice. And as you've evolved, are you thinking that you still are a nice person?
Most definitely.
I'm going back to the Sagittarius, and I'm really fire. And then
you think so. This is the thing. People think fire is like this negative entity, but it also brings heat, bring warmth. Seeing fire. Reframing how you look at it. So I bring warmth. I bring kindness. If you're cold and you need a little something to get you, you call me.
Got it.
Right. No, but yes. Reframing how you see the fire signs. It's
like you. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
No,
yes. The warmth of the fire signs. People sometimes think of like the negative side, but I want to just focus on the positive. Like fire signs are definitely there. They bring passion, which is also really big for me. I'm very passionate about the work that I do.
I know you are. I've watched you. Let me ask you, what inspired you to be a teacher? Like, what made you want to start down that path?
So I actually was in school to be an accountant.
Okay.
And I was on the track to be an accountant, and I realized I don't like accounting. I like math, and math is not accounting. And so my freshman year at North Carolina A&T State University, Greensboro, North Carolina, home of the Aggies, I was blessed that they put you right into like your major. Like they didn't wait until your sophomore, junior year. And I remember sitting in this accounting class thinking, what am I doing here? And I was also part of the accounting society. And it was like just a lot of numbers, and numbers I did not quite understand or did I like. And I just happened to come home for summer break. And my mentor at the time, Leatrice McNair, was the director at the YWCA. And they needed a camp counselor. I was like, I could do that. And I just fell in love working with young people. Sally and Larry are my two outstanding young people because we lost Sally. And then Larry had a lisp because he was missing his two front teeth. So it was just always a joy to be there. And so anyway, so I went back to North Carolina A&T, and I was like, oh, I want to get an education. And I remember my dean, I wish I could remember his name, because he was like, why would you doing this? You're ruining your life. There's no money in education. I said, but aren't you a teacher? Like, and then he signed my paper and put me in his office. So that began my life in education. And so that's how I got into working in childhood development. And I moved into education because I transferred and I needed scholarship money. And they were like, it's a demand for math teachers. I was like, oh, so what does that mean? She said, we have to change your major. I said, well, how long will I be in school? And she was like, oh, same amount of time. All right, change my major, sign me up. So that's how I really got into teaching math. It was just because I needed money for school and they had a scholarship. It was demand at the time in Georgia for math teachers. And I was good at math. I remember I liked math, but I didn't like accounting, which is not the same. So anyway, I got into doing that. Had some great teachers at Oglethorpe, just amazing, really welcoming there, and got my first job before I even graduated. And there led me into education. And what's funny, I was a middle school teacher. I was young. I was like 20, 21. So they always thought I was a helper or aide. No, the parents would like laugh at me. Oh, where's the teacher? I'm like, I'm the teacher. No, you're not. I was like, I'm the teacher. So our principal had to come a couple of times and like, no, this is Miss Hurt. She's your child's teacher. Like, I'm like, not a problem. So, but my Joyce Bugs gave me the best advice. I was going to go back to school and I didn't want to work. I was like, I want to just go to school full time. And she was like, do it. And I was like, okay, I'll do counseling. And it was my second year teaching, and I had really gotten into my groove. My first year, I cried every day, like literally. My mother was like, where do you work? I was like, they don't like me. I mean, I look back on it thinking like, wow, everything was like personal. Like anything a child said, parents said, I was like in parent meetings, like on the verge, like breaking down. And Miss Eldridge, bless her heart, she was my champion. She was like, we're not here to pick on anybody. We're solution focused. I was like, so much. They kept picking on me because I was new, right? And I got thrown into the situation. So, but Joyce Bugs, I was talking to her about going back to school and going into counseling, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do elementary or middle school." She was like, "No, do high school. It gives you more opportunities." And I was like, "You think so?" She's like, "Yeah." And that one decision, because at Georgia State, when you get into counseling, if you chose elementary, then you only took classes kind of sit around elementary. But high school, for the reason they made you do the whole gamut. You had to do classes in all of the K through 12. And so I was certified K through 12 versus just certified in elementary, which gave me a lot more opportunities when it came to jobs and counseling. So that's really how I fell into teaching, because it was 15-year-old Carletta, 18, like, I don't know, no teacher for what? You know, right? There's no money in education. Plus it wasn't like my thing, you know. I didn't really find that passionate. I like math. That's like, you could have asked me. I like math. That was pretty much all I talked about. And I did business, like FBLA, stuff like that. I was really ambitious and active, but didn't really like have a focus, you know, at that time. And so education came to me through my summer program, and I've been doing it ever since.
So you got tough skin now? They can't say anything to
you? Oh, no. Let me tell you something. It's called the first day of school by, I think, something Wong. And I remember I was like, again, that first year was tough. And I took some professional development classes they offered us to do over the summer. I was like, anything to help me. I can't keep I can't keep this up. My spirit can't take it. And middle school is hard on the teachers and the students. And so I took this PD workshop, and it was Harry Wong's. It's called the first day of school, and it just gave you these tips. And it's really about classroom management. That's all it was, like being in control of the classroom and knowing that, you know, they can't take you out. You know, basically, you can't be afraid of the children. And so that changed my whole perspective. I came in back my second year. I wore black for the first 2 weeks. I knew everybody's name after the first day.
What was the significance of wearing black?
Oh, because I looked like death. I wanted them to be afraid of me. Like it's a strategy.
So the way the black,
it's a strategy.
A funeral director,
not bright. It was not colorful. It was just dark.
Okay, got it.
And I made sure I knew everybody's name. I didn't do name tags in my classroom. I had a seating chart. So Tanya, Tamika, Michael, because names meant something. And he taught that in his book, was that people don't answer to "Hey you." Like that doesn't mean you're talking to me, especially if a student who's acting up or not trying to be, called out. And that's why you get lack of, and then the name tag thing was they just cover the names up and so the idea was that my control was around the space you came into. So I had to know who you were. I did some information, did a little bit of background, asking around. I was in middle school. And so that changed everything. And my second year, I was a sought after teacher. Like they were like, "You're leaving?" "Yes, I'm leaving this year. I'm not coming back." I had parents, because what we did, we had an exchange program with the elementary school. Fifth graders came over. And I had a tight ship. Amy Fisher was like my partner in crime. I didn't like science, still don't to this day. And she loved it. So we would trade classes. I would teach her math class, she did my science class. And then she wanted things to be alive in the room. "Oh, it's science. You should be living. The children are living. That's enough."
The children.
The children, so we had a turtle. Damn turtle. And so it was one break, I forgot to get somebody to take it home. And so I had to take it home. I thought I killed it. And so I called my neighbor. "I killed the turtle. He comes over to bury it, and it like moves out the box, scares us all. We had a little funeral in the backyard and everything. So last time I had anything living in my classroom. But it was a fun time because I really got into my groove. I embraced being a teacher. Those PD workshops over the summer really helped me a lot. And we had a new math curriculum that I really enjoyed. So it was definitely a good second year for me, but it was also enough. So
let me ask you this. So you said you wore black for 2 weeks. I'm just so curious. What color did you wear after the
Oh, then I wore like other stuff. But I will tell you, Lisa Bowles, I had to say this. So she is still a really good friend, and she was like my mentor at the time. And she was like, "You have to dress professional." Like, even though teachers are known to be very casual dressers. And I was like, "What do you mean?" And so we went shopping. I wore a suit every day. Like I was telling a friend of mine this other day. I have a picture of me. I wish I could show you that picture. I had on this like white. It was a t-shirt dress. It was like white on the top and flowers on the bottom and tennis shoes. And I was in the front office, and he was like, "Miss Her, are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine." And like a third person, I was like, "What is going on?" I said, "You never dress like a teacher." Like I didn't realize how much of an impact what I had on, because I wore literally a suit every day but Friday. And Friday was khakis and a polo shirt and a blazer. Like Lisa was like very strict about casual is not jeans. So, and they were like, "You like a teacher day, you never dress like a teacher." I was like, "It's field day." Like, what is that? You never dress like a teacher. I was like, that was so wild to me. I still remember that because I was like, "Oh, it does make a difference. People do pay attention." The little bit of effort I made to make sure. And we literally drove around Atlanta for like 2 weeks trying to find the best bargain because I was on a budget, like the best sale. So yeah, shout out to Lisa Bowles. Like that was, and it's still in my head. Casual is not jeans, but it really is.
But it really is.
It is.
Okay.
I'm like brainwashed. Yes. So yeah. But I wore everything. I mean, after that I had suits, but I was very intentional that first week. And I say I'm probably like all black, but very dark colors. I didn't wear anything like nice like this. No, like it was all dark.
Let me traumatize the kids. I receive it. Okay, I got it.
But Emma, if you're watching, don't listen to that. We're Facebook friends. Like one of my students from that class, she like.
So, math was your favorite subject.
Yep, definitely.
I know you all this time. I did not know that. But what's interesting to me, how do you shift from math? Then you go to counseling, and then you want to be a filmmaker.
Yes.
And
no, honestly, the film stuff, like I love process. Like I love coming and putting things together. And I learned that when I did yearbook in high school. And so that was like my first like taste of like, ooh, this is kind of cool, like bringing things together. And honestly, filmmaking was like, this is so wild. I was getting my master's in school counseling, wasn't working, just going to school full time. I was really committed to like, I want to finish and focus. Now, I don't recommend the way I did it to anybody because I paid out of pocket and I got loans. But anyway, so I was dating this guy and his brother was in film. He was always bragging about his brother. I couldn't stand it. And so he was always bragging about him being this big time film person. I'm like, okay, if he's so big, and he said, oh, he's coming to town. Like this one ran in this film with this major star, and he's like, oh, he's coming to town. You're gonna meet him because I never met him before. I just talked to him on the phone, and so I was like, if he's so big, get me on set. And never, no lie, I was sitting at my mentor's house. I'm old. He paged me.
Not the pager.
The pager. He paged me and was like, call this number, ask for Cynthia, tell her I told you to call, and keep calling till you get her. Okay. I did it. I was on set. My first film was Remember the Titans. And I was a casting PA, graduated from working for free to getting paid to being on set. And at that point, I was hooked. It was over. I was done. I was in 4 feet, all in, jump in the pool, can't swim, knew nothing about any terminology. Like I didn't eat for 3 days because I didn't realize they feed you. They were taking the orders, but I never gave my order. And then one day she was like, Carletta, where's your food? I was like, oh, I'm okay. She was like, no, we paid for it. I said, oh, well, I didn't know. She was like, we got an extra box. I was like, literally just, they're like, they eating lunch. I'll just be in the back somewhere just working. Then I learned like, oh, this is why you come to set, because you can eat, because they feed you. I was like, I'm really in now. And the thing about Remember the Titans, I tell people, is that it was a period piece. So it was dated. So everybody had to be in wardrobe and makeup and costuming. So it was like the best, I think, the best experience for your first film, because you saw everything. Like extras, usually they'll say, hey, bring a t-shirt or bring a white shirt or whatever. It was like, okay, you got to come in for fitting, and then even hair, like everything had to be done. So it was like great thing, kind of like knowing you select extras. They got to come in for hair, wardrobe, costuming, and that process takes time, right? It's not like quick.
Right.
So seeing that happen, then about accounting, and even like the if you ever seen it before, there's a scene where they break a glass, like the storefront window. It was a little town in Atlanta. They found this, and it was crazy because I'm like, I know, this looks so familiar. They kind of recreated this whole little section of the town to be 1960s. And they said, we got 2 windows.
Get it right.
You got 2 times. That's it. And I was like, wow. And like, that was like so amazing to me. And then they broke the first window, and like 30 minutes later, the second was up and ready to go. I'm like, how in the world? So just seeing that take place made me really like want to be a part of something like that. And then I went to see the movie, and I'm like, oh my God. This is like so cool. So yeah.
So it made an impact. And
it did.
Then for some reason you thought, I too can do this.
Oh yeah. I was like, I'm in. I'm doing this. This is like, I don't know how. Have no education, but I'm gonna do it. And it was so. After that, I got a job at a public access TV station. Mm-hmm. And that's when I started learning like the production side. Because I want to respect the craft, not thinking like, oh, I can just walk off the street and do it. But I wanted to have some training. So I went in just to take classes and got a job working with their youth program called the Youth Channel. And I created over 24 programs. We interviewed dozens of people, went to the All-Star game, like just, and I really learned the power of media, like the fact that getting media passes, what that was like, and even like going to like the Trumpet Awards, it's like the Oscars of Atlanta, and even the All-Star game was so funny. I wish I had kept the footage, because you don't think about it back then, like how important it would be to look back and say, oh my God, we did this, like we went to these places. But our reporter was like a little like a white boy. He was like maybe 4'15", whatever. He was short. He's at the All-Star game because I always made sure my students went to stuff like that. We only got 2 tickets. So he went with one of our other reporters. And so Shaquille O'Neal, because he's so tall, literally picked him up for the interview. And it was just so funny because
That sounds like Shaquille O'Neal.
and then a couple of times you saw them on a chair. It was like they were just so really nice about it, and talking to him. So just I wish I think about it now how we didn't save any of the footage. Like I don't know where it is, but just seeing that now, but oh man, like just to think how. But I am in contact with one of our reporters to this day, and she's like, we're really good friends, and she talks a lot about that experience, how she just got a lot out of it. We had a news to anchor desk and everything. We did a lot. So that's how I got into film and video.
So most of this took place in Atlanta.
It did.
What brings you to the lovely area of DC, Maryland, and Virginia?
Wow, that's a good question. So I'm from Georgia, born and raised, and I had been in North Carolina for 2 years for school. And actually, it's a combination of Tyler Perry, Oprah, and my aunt. And I was like, oh, I want to just do these great things. And she was my Auntie Quay. She's like the rich aunt in the family, They got one of those, like, she does everything, knows everybody, she's like Remax Millionaire Club, like she's amazing. And I was like, I really want to do this stuff. And she was like, well, write it down. She said, write it down and figure out what you need to do. But like write down what you want to do. Like write it down, read it, say it, like begin to like work at it. And I wrote down, I should have brought my book with me, still have it. It says, I want to be an award-winning international producer and some other stuff. And I said, okay, at the time, Tyler was like coming up and doing a lot of stuff. And I was like, okay, he found his niche. Like, okay, I got to find a niche, And then I was like, but I want to be like Oprah too, because she's like, Oprah. She does everything. And so I call myself Tao. I call myself the combination.
Okay, Tao.
Tyler Perry and Oprah. And I was like, I got to move. I can't be an international award-winning producer if I'm living in Georgia, because Georgia's country and backwards. No offense. And so I was going to move. I said, I'm going to move. And so I was telling my friend, I was like, I'm going to Charlotte. She said, Charlotte? Ain't nothing in Charlotte. You might as well stay in Atlanta. I was like, but I gotta move. She said, go to DC. I'm like, never thought about it. I was like, ooh. And she said, well, really, you should go to New York. I said, I'm not going to New York. That's never. Never.
Okay.
And she was like, well, look at DC. And I was like, oh, I don't know. Doesn't it snow? She said, oh, isn't it snow in DC? Maybe a little, but nothing major. I said, you sure? She was like, yeah. Lies.
It doesn't snow as often here.
Lies from the pits of hell. So I decided to move because my job had transitioned out. I was just I wasn't committed to or connected to anything, right? And I said, well, just go. And at the time, a friend of mine was living here, and he was like, yeah, you can come stay or crash, no problem. It's already covered. No big deal. And so I said, let me just go visit. I'm going to go visit. I came to visit. I was like, okay, this isn't too bad. And the one thing I didn't do was research about the economic structure here. It's a little different than Georgia. So I had some money saved up. I said, okay, I can survive. I'm going to find me a job. I'm educated. This shouldn't be a problem. Well, so what happened was DC is quite expensive.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. And I was not prepared for the culture shock of pricing in DC. So savings was like, in like no other time. I was able to find out, and oh my God, and DCPS, Michelle Rhee was, I think, the chancellor at the time, and she put a moratorium on counselors. And I did not want to go back into teaching. And so I had to make some shifts and pivots. And so I found a job. And this month I was so blessed to come to DC in May and get a job in July. So I found a job paying like, I would be embarrassed to tell you how much I was getting paid right now. But it was a job and it was full time. It had benefits. So I was like, I'm going to take it. And so I did that for, July, August, not even for like maybe 2 or 3 months. And then, to answer your question, I got to DC because I wanted to move. I wanted to be an international, award-winning international producer, and said I couldn't do that staying in Georgia. I needed to go at least to one other place, and DC was where I landed. And so that's how I came to DC. And then also I learned at DC, there was like this bus that you take from DC to New York for like $1. And I was like, I'm in.
Right.
Sold. Sign me up.
Not $1 anymore,
Is
but yeah, they changed that big time.
It is. You're right.
I guess my other question about this is, so of all these things that you've shared with me, do you feel like you're living in your purpose?
Ooh, I'm getting there. I think when I landed here, I was doing, theater, film, and I've kind of gotten into this space where I'm embracing the Black girl. It ain't magic, it's brilliance. Because we're not unicorns, we cry, we bleed. And I want to make sure that the full experience is recognized. So I think doing my research for my doctorate, but also just living as a person in America right now, coming from the South, definitely a Southern girl, went through some things during that period of time in my life. And so just embracing the whole essence of being a Black woman. So I think my purpose has always been to support young people, always. I've known that since, I don't know, in my early 20s. So I'm fine tuning that purpose. I'm beginning to craft a stronger vision for myself around the purpose of supporting Black girls and Black women.
That's awesome. Do you feel that Black women and Black young girls, I've talked to a couple women. The reason I asked this question, I find that a lot of our young women and adult women have a worthy issue. They don't really think they're worthy
Yeah.
of all the things that God has for them. And more importantly, they have this small, slight, I call it imposter syndrome, at least I've read about it, where they talk to themselves always thinking they're never doing enough.
Mm-hmm.
So in your research and your study, like how do you plan, like what's the theme of your whole?
Oh man, all that is true, right? All of it. Even I think for me, what I've chosen to do is focus on Black girl leadership in the space of helping them, one, identify the skills, build the skills, and then find opportunities to be leaders. Because part of it, when you think about confidence, confidence is that you don't have the opportunity to exercise that muscle. And when you don't, in anything, you're a former athlete, if you don't work out, you don't practice, Allen Iverson, you got to practice. Your muscle doesn't get strong enough to actually show your extent of your success, your ability to do that. And so my process right now is just focusing on opportunities to show them they can lead and giving them small opportunities that go into bigger opportunities, but also making sure they're aware of opportunities. Because part of the challenge is that society will say, well, she looks a certain kind of way, or whether it's her hair, her clothing, her body type, they just make all these judgments about, and I say her being the Black girl, and so they won't provide her with that information. So she won't know about this project or this thing. So my process now is to make sure that Black girls know about everything that's available to them, and even starting a program where we work on specifically doing that, like we're giving them coaches, not mentors, but coaching them, being very, as a former athlete, you can appreciate this. You have a goal, you want to win, there's stats. And so what are we doing to make sure that instead of saying, oh, don't worry about it, like, no, well, how can we make this better next time? Like, what can we improve upon? And really being focused on and intentional about, if you're lacking in this area, let's get you to the point where you're not lacking in that area anymore, so you can be a stronger candidate, and the next time you will get the opportunity. And so my focus is really on coaching, intentional opportunities, meaning that I'm going to take this and make sure as many Black girls know about it as possible. Then also working in those, and my coach says this all the time too, if we only work with those who we think have the potential, then we'll never know if others have the potential as well. Because we don't all show up nicely made up, hair done, makeup. Sometimes we show up as our plain self, not that we don't have the ability to look like this other person, but we don't always have the resources. So really being focused on picking those 3 or 4 or 5 who don't fit the mold and helping them as well. So
I received that. So, in listening to all the things that you've shared thus far, can you think back? Because, they say between the ages of 7 and 14, you really can, whatever you were keen on back then is usually part of your gifts and what you should be doing to serve the world. Do you think any of what you're doing now is aligned with it, or were you just a late bloomer?
Oh wow. Ooh, 7 to 14. I was always a nerd, you
Mm.
know? And I liked school. Like I remember like getting like first day of school, I would get up like super early, be fully dressed and ready like at 6 o'clock, like ready to go to school. They were
At
like
6?
6 a.m. My
Okay.
dad, he went to work early. He like, why are you up? I'm like, it's the first day of school. I'm ready to go to school. So the fact that I have 2 doctorates going for my third shows that I'm literally always still a nerd.
Okay.
And then I think the other part is I was obsessed. I used to love reading. I'm getting back into it. I read this book about this guy who was killed and he never got a chance to tell his family he loved them. So the whole point of the story was him trying to tell them from the afterworld that he loved them. So I was obsessed for like 2 years. My parents probably drove them crazy. You could not leave the house without telling me you love me. And you had to say it. Like, don't leave. Did you say I love you? I love you. Like, I say I love you. I'm like, so with my son, he's 7. And since he was, I don't know, in the womb, I'll always tell him I love him. It was really important that he knows, even like if I see him now and he at school going into the building, his dad's like soft as cotton. I'm like, it's my baby. And so, but it's really, I want him to, what I took from that story, and even as growing up, my parents were very loving individuals that I want to make sure he knows that not only that I love him, that he can come to me. I'm a safe haven. I'm a person he can trust. And so I think back then that was really important to me. Like even, probably I was like 12, maybe, when I was like in this phase of tell me you love me. Mm-hmm. That and just being a nerd. So, and I think about and I was also in FBLA. I remember sitting at a program. I was a freshman in high school, and it was like, I want to do that one day. And I was at the FBLA state conference, and I saw these high school students on stage talking, and I was like, and I'm Miss Linda Little, and I said, I want to do that one day. I was in 9th grade. She said, let's do it, and I did it. 4 years later, I was on stage, and I was a Region 5 vice president, the first in my county. And it wasn't easy because racism is real. And it was also what made me realize that I'm not special. Like I was like, oh, because even when I said I want to do it, she's like, well, Carletta, just be prepared. I'm like, no, I'm smart. I do everything right. I have like this. I'm gonna do my speech. Like it's gonna be okay. And she was like, and she kept trying to tell me, like she was like trying to give me little hints. I'm like, nope. I did the application. I've been FLA for 4 years. I'm the perfect candidate. I'm going to be okay. And listen, baby. I mean, I won, but it wasn't for people not trying to not let me win. It was rough. But it taught me, like I said, whatever shelter I was living in was gone. And so I also, and because of that, I'm very keen about what little Black boys are going through. So I think that also makes me definitely more aware for my son. And so I guess that 7 to 14, maybe 7 to 15 for me, because I was in high school when I saw FBLA, it definitely gives me more to think about when I look at the world. Yeah, those rose-colored glasses have long been broken.
I received that. So maybe, yeah, during that age, you being a nerd, your words, not mine, loving school,
yeah,
seems like it would be a natural transition for you to be a counselor, a teacher.
Yeah,
right?
I guess so. I never thought about it like that. Yeah.
Do you think about leaving Atlanta now? Because now Atlanta's hot. I mean, all kinds of things are being done in Atlanta in terms of music, filmmaking.
Yeah, I believe in God, and I think everything happens as it's supposed to. I wouldn't have my son if I hadn't moved. And Atlanta wasn't. I mean, it was like I did Drumline, I did Fighting Temptation. I did a lot of work when I was in Atlanta. It was a very small community. I still have friends who are there now working, like with TV Studios, Marvel, like still keep in contact with them. However, my route was just different. My journey was different, and I there are some parts I'm like, but for the most part, I've been blessed, and I still am looking at that title space. You know, I
receive it.
haven't given that up yet. So, you know, just wait, Issa, Ava, I'm coming.
Okay. And in terms of like, I guess you said you haven't given up on your whole filmmaking,
Right.
all of that, correct? In terms of education, is that something you would, if you got that big ticket call today,
Ooh.
would you just drop it and move on?
I take education everywhere I go.
Okay.
And part of what I plan to do when I am able to write those checks is make sure there's a opportunity to bring in Black girls who want to be filmmakers. I also, I'm working on 2 projects right now, doing study guides to go into the schools about just making sure they're aware of certain people in history. And one thing I am looking forward to is starting a giving circle around getting Black females to Sundance, ABFF, Toronto, some of those big film festivals. So it's not necessarily about, just to go there, but to give them a worthwhile connected experience.
Okay.
And it's not always feasible because of finances, right? It's a barrier. And so that's my education piece, right? Like the fact is you're going to go to the workshops and go to the fun stuff. Then we're going to set up some meetings for you too. So that's my long-term vision. Education will always be with me. I love school and I think it's important. I support any Black woman looking to get her terminal degree, whether it's an EDD or PhD. I think it's really important. You know, not enough of us in that space. So that big ticket call would include me having the opportunity to do those things. You know, bring in girls on set or just Black women who haven't had a chance, but also supporting them in education. It's like filmmakers, film students going to those places like Sundance, ABFF, Toronto, those big festivals that are like, ooh, it sounds nice, but I can't reach that because of the thing. Yeah, exactly.
So what are you passionate about?
Ooh, I'm passionate about Black girls. I'm passionate about my son. I'm passionate about life. I'm passionate about learning. I think that's the space I stay in, like the learning space. I'm always open to learning new things. I think that's from the latest camera for a film because I'm not necessarily a director, but I'm learning. But also, I want to make sure that Black girls have opportunities to grow, and that means learning systems and places and spaces that might not be comfortable for me. But I definitely want them to feel comfortable. I'm going to be at South by Southwest doing a program called Black Girl Dialogue. Who you talking to? And it's really about, as educators, as programmers, when you're in those spaces that Black girls aren't, what are you saying? Like, who are you talking to, and what are you talking about when it comes to how you represent Black girls? If you say you're an ally, what does that even look like? Are you aware of what you should be saying or doing when given the opportunity to represent a Black girl? So for me, education is my passion space, whether I'm growing in film or in the formal space of education.
Okay. How do you feel about prosperity? Would you say that your life, are you truly fulfilled in living in prosperity?
More so than I was 10 years ago. More so than I was 10 years ago, definitely. And I have to, and I'm working on this idea of your definition of prosperity, you know, because even I do a gratitude every morning, 3 things I'm grateful for, and then 1 positive thing. And I have to begin to look at the smallest things as a space of gratitude. Mm-hmm. So I think with prosperity, for me, I want to be comfortable. I want to make sure my son has what he needs. I also want freedom. So prosperity for me, I'm still climbing the ladder to freedom, but I'm comfortable. I am. And my son is he good, you know. Mm-hmm. So for me, prosperity is elevations to that. It's levels to it, right? So if there are 5 levels to prosperity, I'm at level 3.
Okay.
Almost at level 4.
And when are you looking to be at level 5?
Oh, I'll be 50 in 2 years. So between 50 and 55, I'll be there.
Between 50. Whew. I mean, really, between 50 and 50.
Yeah.
Very cool. You're carrying it well. Um, and I mean it sincerely. So at 55, you've reached your peak quote in your mind of prosperity. I, I had a conversation with someone earlier today, I believe. And what they said to me, there's a special word about emotion. Like I can't recall, but the bottom line was is that simply we achieve things, right? We think we want this, we want that to get to this. Then once we get there, we go right back to this level. Now, what else can I get? Now what else can I get? But and to remedy that, we've been programmed to think that we always need to strive for more. So and that's why we always have that. I got it. Now what's next? What's next? Do you think, let me be clear, we're always going to evolve, but do you think that you can get to a point where you have true peace?
Oh, most definitely.
That this is not about, I need to get to the next level. I
yeah.
just need to continue to learn, but I'm really good where I am.
Oh my God, yes, definitely. Now, for me, that level is, again, it's called the freedom number and the abundance number, right? Your freedom number is, I don't have to depend on anybody else myself to get what I need. My abundance number is, I'm doing things for others in a way and space that makes me feel good about being able to take them along with me. So once I get to my abundance number, and that's between 50 and 55, I'm good. It's because I think one thing I'm learning as I get older, and I'm caring for my aging great aunt and uncle, is that life is going to end, and at some point you should be enjoying life, like really enjoying life, and that's what I want to do. I want to enjoy my son. I want to travel. I'm gonna have about 3 or 4 houses. I'm going to all the parties and hanging out, but I'm also gonna just be at home reading a book, watching, Young and the Restless or whatever soap opera, reruns of like the Cosby Show in a different world. Like I just want to, and the ease of coming and going as I want to, but also quality of life is really important, right? Being able to get up and go when I want to, and not, and I will say I had ankle surgery a couple months ago, and I was non-weight bearing and a boot, and had to depend on people, and I was like, "Whoo, man, this is not the life." right. So had to rethink some things, had to repurpose, and so I think when you've been through things and you understand, one, life is too long to be in a place where you're not happy. Life is too long to be in a place where you feel stuck and uncertain. Forget about being short. It's too long to be miserable. And so my goal in life right now is to do what I can to make sure that I'm living with happiness and joy. And as I do that, making sure I make money. So when I get to my abundance number, I can be joyful and bring folks with me so they can be joyful too. It's like the Oprah and Gail syndrome, right? It's like, you want to hang out, so I'm going to give you something so you can hang out too, so we can be equal and not feel like, oh, I'm always paying for everything or doing everything for you. I want to make sure that those who are around me are in abundance as well. So, but yeah, we can definitely get there. And once you get there, you have to know what you're getting to, right? So if you set A as your top, ain't an A++, it's an A. Then A was never your top, right?
Correct.
So if you know your top and you're securing your top, then when you get to the top, you're like, I like this up here. Okay, I'm good, And that's what's important to bring somebody up so they can reach their top, So
that's very cool. I received that. Is being joyful. What's joyful to you when you say living in joy? Is it a feeling, or is it an accomplishment, something external, or like what is joy to you?
Ooh. Yes. So I think about Taraji P. Henson has this joyful campaign, right? Like joyful joints, like juke joints, but they're joyful joints. In a spirit of being joyful, and I'm also in this other this cohort for angel investors, and they talk about joy, right? And our investments giving joy. And our theme is audacious intention. And so when I think about joy, I think about not just peace, right? That's one thing, but I want to be happy, peaceful, and also content in the space I'm in. So for me, joy looks like getting up any morning, not knowing or not having to be anywhere by choice or force. It also means that my son is safe. He's protected and knows that he's loved. And so I think joy shows up for different people, but ultimately I think for us, all of us, joy looks like feeling like you are loved, respected, and have what you need in abundance and not just enough to survive. Because surviving and thriving are very different, and your mindset and your spirit is very different when you're like trying to make it. You're surviving, but thriving looks a lot differently. So that's how I would describe joy.
Okay. And the other thing,
You all right over there?
of course I am. The other thing I was thinking. So, how do you influence your son in the world?
I don't know. That little boy. Man, I see myself like, Dad, I'm like this. I think the best way to influence young people is showing up. It's by modeling. Because they see and hear everything. It's really scary sometimes. Like, did I say that? Said that? Oh my God. And also like exposing him. Like we took a trip to San Francisco. When I finished my doctorate, I said we both earned a doctorate that year those 3 years. Because he was 3 when I started, he was 6 when I finished. And he was sometimes when I would get up, he would go to the computer and he was like little and just start tapping on the keys. I'm like, no, like because he's clearly seeing me again, the modeling thing, right? And so it's really important. What I say and what I do is congruent when he's around me, because I need to make sure that I don't give him mixed messages about what's right and what's wrong. So that's really important to me. And then just having him experience things like he is joy to me. We went to San Francisco, and I still have it in my head. We got up every morning and went out and did something. And so we at a hotel, and he's learning about hotels. Girl, he's like, let's have dinner in the restaurant downstairs. I'm like, no, it's not in the budget. But the first day we got there, it was just convenient, and it was eat something we got. It was California time change. I want to just eat. Mm-hmm. He's hyped, so he's like, "Excuse me, sir," like trying to order food. I was like, it was funny. And also said, I need to teach him, like, okay, wait till the waiter comes to you. Like, so we get this whole conversation. So he got better at it. He's still sick, so it's still like not totally sinking in. But we got upstairs to our room, and he was like running in the hall, like, I need the room key. I need the room key. Just in his own little world, but just so happy about our day in San Francisco. He's like, we got to come back. I had so much fun. And wanted to take pictures. And so like that's what I want him to like have more of, experiences like that. I think that's important. And his father and I have very different. He had we both want William to have better than what we had, and so our ideas about that can be a little different, but still same positive. And so mine is just like him singing things and not being afraid to try and being open to the possibilities of what the world has to offer. Because I think when you don't travel, you don't get out of where you are, you're very afraid for your children to go places. You're like, well, don't like like just stay right here. Mm-hmm. And so I want him to see as much of the world as possible, so that when he gets older, he's not just traveled, but he's confident in like a lot of different things because he's seen some things, he's done some things, and he's not like afraid to study abroad while he's in college, or even consider going to a college in another state, like further away, because he's open to that possibility.
Awesome. Do you, just shifting gears a little thing, Are there any experiences in your life that you feel was a breakthrough to take you to the next thing? Next,
Oh my God. I'm in one right now. Hell.
say how you really feel.
Gosh. Whew, that's a loaded question. I think there have been, even I talked about FBLA, like that was when so I was running unopposed. So you don't know until you get to state who's running against you. And when they found out I was running unopposed, they were trying to like literally have a last minute person on the ballot against me. And to my face, like I was like, I don't know what this is. Why do you not like me? Like I remember it was like, you're not gonna win. Like older white women are just like spewing hate at me, and I'm just like, what? I just wanted to run for the office. I'm like, what happened? And my advisor, I love her so much. She didn't even say I told her. She was just like, we're gonna get through this. Like and then Jeff Chandler, I don't know if he's still alive. He was at the state advisor at the time. He was like, no, you're not. He said, you are. He said, it's not officially a vote, but you're the only person running. And they should have done what they need to do months ago. And I just remember him just being so kind and so honest and was like, we know what this is, but it's not going to happen today, And the breakthrough for me was, I'm not special. Racism is real. Wake up, smell the coffee. And I think like even fast forward to now, and I'm actually doing a session on leadership in about 2 months, but it's talking about how people say, if you've been looking on LinkedIn or other places, oh, Black women, unprotected, not safe in all these spaces. They're referring to white spaces, but we're not safe in Black spaces either. We're the most unprotected individuals out there. And so the question becomes, at what point do we call ourselves out? At what point do we call ourselves to the table and say, this is what you're doing? And it's already tough for us like this. Let's be real. This is not an easy road, even in 2024. And so my breakthrough has been owning my part in that, right? As hard as it is. And my coach says, be gentle, but firm in your realism. So like gentle in the sense of don't beat yourself up, but firm so you got to change. Like something's got to be different. And so that part was me as a leader having to care about those even who have been very vocal about not caring about me. And in a way that is honorable, just, and fair, even if the return is not reciprocated. And so that has been by far the toughest thing to do, to show up for individuals who won't show up for me, to be there for individuals who are not going to be there for me. And I say all the time, I used to say, well, for my students, it's different. Like, they kids. They'll curse me out, and I still come back and say, how you doing, Tanya? You okay? They're like, why? She just called you everything but a child of God. Yeah, but, she going through something. She's trying to figure stuff out. She hadn't made it past high school. There are reasons Tanya might be upset. Then you think about, the people who I'm having to manage.
Got it.
And so the reframe is really important. So that my breakthrough has been that the care, because I would always say, but I don't care about them. And she would say, but you have to. Like, but I don't want to. And she said, but you have to. And that's like the caring part, and working through a process where I have to know that while I'm learning to care for them differently in a way that still allows me to serve them the way they should be served. That's been my reframe. I tell myself over and again, I have to care for them differently. I have to care for them differently. like it's okay, Carletta. It's like,
so you truly believe that then all these things that are happening to you are happening for you, not to you.
Girl, listen, that was a breakthrough too. Because my mentor was like, she gave me a mug and it says, Esther 4:14, you were made for such a time as this. And she said, you did ask for this, girl. I said, no, I didn't. She's like, yes, you did. I'm like, no, I didn't. She was like, no, you asked for these challenges. You asked for this environment. I said, no, I didn't. What are you talking about? And it's back in August. And it didn't hit me until probably December, January, that what she was saying. You know, like I was asking for it because I know I'm about to be in a space, a place of greater leadership, greater visibility, greater opportunity. And so I needed to figure this stuff out. Mm-hmm. You know, I needed to care differently for people. Right. Because I was like, I don't care about them. I ain't gonna do that. She's like, but no, Carla. So yes, I definitely think that this space and time is destined because of what's about to happen. So yeah, most definitely.
Got it. Well, I want to thank you for coming.
No, thank you.
Sharing your perspective on purpose, passion, and prosperity. I have one last question. I haven't even said it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes, no problem. My only last question is, would you come back and have another conversation with me?
Oh yeah, almost definitely. You always think I was like, I didn't prepare. Yes, I would most definitely. I would love to.
Okay.
Yes.
So now we can count on you, everybody that's listening, right?
Yes.
You have a very, you were telling me something earlier about you have a very nice project that you're creating, a digital product that you'll be able to share with everyone.
Yes. So I have been working on this, and this is Tanya pushing me now. I've been working on this book called 20 Reasons Why I Love Girl Power, and You Should Too. And so I will have the first 5 chapters available via my link for those who want to download it and read it, and hopefully it'll be on sale later this year.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much.
No, thank you.
I'm sure they all appreciate that. Because all you've done is talk about Black women and how you're going to empower them, right?
Yes.
So we definitely would love to hear your perspective. Thank you.
Well, actually, the book really quickly is 20 attributes of Black girls that I've kind of done a little surveying. This is, of course, years ago. And it's stories about them and their success and also quotes. So it's a combination of things. And at the end of each chapter is an action item, like asking you to go out and do something within that framework. So, yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah. I'm excited.
I'm excited to read it.
Thank you for the push.
Of course. I'm here for you. Always pushing you towards your purpose.
Hey, I like that. I received that.
Thank you again, Carla.
No,
we appreciate you. Thanks, everyone, for joining us again for a breakthrough to purpose, passion, and prosperity. Are you ready?